Aw, cat.
So
Does
here's
cat
the
hurt
kind
you?
of... Yes, the cat can go ballistic. Look, they're...
Oh, it is! It's going into its own ape shit!
So, this week we decided to do another one of our NES developer/publisher spotlights. We do these every so often. We look through the entire catalog of specific developers or publishers throughout history. Before we've covered the infamous Micronics, as well as Beam Software. And in terms of publishers, last time we covered one of those, it was Acclaim.
Oh, yeah.
Well, this week we gave our patrons a few different choices. But in the end, they decided, for God knows whatever reason, they wanted to see Bandai games. So here's how this works, if you haven't seen one of these streams before. We're going to cover Bandai's entire US NES catalog. That's a good couple dozen games. We're going to give each game a hard time limit of 5 minutes. No more, no less. Actually, it could probably be less, depending on some of these games.
Yeah.
But we do this in an attempt to add some more context to the era, and eventually figure out where the games industry went wrong. Let's start off with Bandai's first 1986 release. Back in 86, they released a trio of games towards the tail end of the year. All of these games were previously released in Japan, and they're all based on anime licenses, though not really so in the US. Let's start off with the first one here. It's Chubby Cherub.
Hey, you know how you said some of these are gonna be good?
Yeah.
I don't believe you.
Well, we're on the lookout for hidden gems, so we can make viral YouTube videos about them. We're starting off with Chubby Cherub.
Is that what we do now?
Yep. We're all about the virility. We're all about the clickbait. You won't believe what this cherub can do. He flies around, he eats candy, and that's kind of it. Yeah, the interesting thing about this game is that it's a side-scrolling platformer, only not much platforming, because you get almost unlimited flight being a cherub, you see. You replenish that flight meter up there by eating fruit and dodging these deadly puppy dogs.
Dogs.
You also have a limited supply of Gao, which is this.
Wow, they hate that.
They sure do. That's puppy poison.
Oh no, bee!
This is kind of a weird one, and yet, believe it or not, the simple graphics, the simple premise, everything about this, despite all that, this is the rarest and most expensive Bandai game released in the States. I was looking up prices earlier before the show, and oh my god, you would not believe the prices on this.
Yeah, actually.
Cart only, this goes between 50 to 70 bucks. Not bad. But I saw a copy that was just the box and manual. No game, no cartridge, just the box and manual. And that went for $750.
Cool. So we're not going to get this complete.
It was a beautiful box, to be clear. Oh, also, you never started the timer.
Oh, I certainly didn't. Oh, the
Show's
stream is
already
going
ruined.
off to a great start.
I suppose just the box is really rare, because if you look up a scan of the box art, it's in really shit condition, like it was scanned like 20 years ago, and nobody ever found another specimen. So that's the one they had to go with.
Alright, so yeah, as GravDev mentions, this was originally based on an anime. It was based on Obakyu, if I recall.
Yeah, they had a few of these licensed games that went over real big in Japan, because anime licensed games for the Famicom were just a license to print money pretty much back then. So they looked at those games. I think they just looked at which ones sold the most, and they decided, you know what, we'll just reskin that, take away the anime license, and we'll make money off of it. Because what people liked about these games wasn't the license, it was the gameplay.
Of course.
Gameplay produced by the cheapest team of developers at Tosei. We'll get into this more, but first of all, Tosei is a shadowy ninja developer who secretly developed a whole bunch of NES games back in the day. Any games where there's no credits or just mysterious origins, it was probably developed by Tosei. Oh, I found my friend.
Oh, hey, that was quick. Yeah, as Whooper mentions, Obakyu was originally an anime starring a ghost, and the ghost was scared of dogs.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty much it, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why your enemies are dogs in this game.
They're like, ah.
In fact, why not? Keep the timer running.
Okay.
I got some alts here so you can see the difference yourself. Here's the original version. This was released back in '85, so even more of an ancient game. But yeah, it's based on Obake no Q-taro, which is about a little ghost who, as you said, is afraid of dogs. Now, playing the game itself, you see identical. All he did was swap out the main character sprite. Everything else exactly the same, including the fact that you shoot Gao bullets, whatever the hell those are. I still don't know what the hell they are.
I think they're like fear, like you're shooting like a scary ghost thing at them. Like, I guess Gao is probably spooky. And they're shooting out like those aren't bees, are they?
They're dogs that shoot bees out of their mouth when they bark?
No, like they were shooting the letter B last time
Okay.
in the other version.
You got me really excited, like this game somehow created a Simpsons joke.
I wish.
Unfortunately, in this one, your power runs out real quickly, and when it gets pretty low, you can't fly. Which is a bit of a problem, because the platforming is not the best.
So they changed that for the American version, then?
Yeah, I suppose they changed a little bit, made it a little bit easier. It seems like your power depletes faster in this one. Other than that, fairly typical license game, in that it's not great, but it is a license game, so it sold a lot of copies. I don't know what their thought process was, just being like, oh, just take out the licensed character, it's fine. It's just as good. And it is.
It is. It's ghosts.
Cherubs.
I meant the original was ghosts and the new one's cherubs.
It's ghosts.
It's ghosts.
I think we've seen enough Chubby Cherub.
Alright, we really have.
Moving on, in that same quarter, they also released a game called Ninja Kid.
Oh.
Which, just like Chubby Cherub, was also based on a licensed game. We'll see that in a little bit. Look at this. Pay attention to the music here, first of all. Just kind of a generic little bass theme.
I was gonna say, this is a little depressing.
Let's go to the Poison Field.
Again, look at how happy he looks!
Mm-hmm. This is a redrawn character sprite. You'd never know it was based on something else in Japan. Unless you're a huge nerd. I'm a huge nerd, don't worry. You're in good company. So even though this game doesn't play all that great, its design is still pretty interesting. There's all these different randomly assigned platformer challenges in each stage. And they're not just straight up left to right kind of things. Like in this one, you have to collect these things. You gotta get 10 of them. And there's other little objectives, and each time you play, they're different. It has a different world map it generates for you. And that's about all the good I can say about this game, because it plays like crap.
Oh yeah, this game is shit. This is another not game.
And yet this is probably a game that at least a few people here are probably familiar with, because back in '86 you didn't have many choices as far as NES games were concerned. So whatever was at Kmart, or whatever is at Blockbuster... Blockbuster wasn't a thing back then.
1986, it was a thing.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever is at Blockbuster, you were at the mercy of their selection, and that's how so many kids ended up playing Ninja Kid.
Actually, no. I think Blockbuster expanded in 1987. Sorry, I watched a video about how Blockbuster was going to have a Epcot-style theme park in the 90s. And...
yeah, that's unbelievable.
Yeah, Rob Place made a video about that. Check that out on YouTube if you are interested in some weird unbuilt theme park shit.
Got it.
Oh, nice.
Shot the giant eyeball.
Ow!
I guess this kind of setup is a little bit similar to Namco's Dragon Buster. No, not so much in the actual gameplay, just the map setup. Same objective here. This is, I think, either post-Super Mario Bros. Or right around its time of release, so you get to see some similarities, but they haven't yet adopted the platformer standard for games. So it's not just a straight-up trek from left to right, it's all like... I don't know.
You're like going back and forth.
Collectathon bullshit. This is the DK64 of its day, is what I'm trying to say. But it's got some things. It's got power-ups. There's a little bit of complexity here.
Oh, interesting question from Tepid Snake. Was this released before or after Ninja Jajamaru-kun?
Oh, good question. This would have been 86, I think, so... I think Jajamaru was 85, so this would have been afterwards. Anyway, there's this version. Let's see what it was originally. Well, in Japan, This came out as Galaga no q-taro.
That was Galaga no q-taro is a long-running manga and anime about a child, his ghost father, who's an eyeball, and his work with stopping obake and bad yokoi.
Yeah.
So bad ghosts and bad whatever.
Yokai.
Yokai.
Listen to the music here.
Oh, hey, it's a theme. Okay,
Yeah.
Jajamaro came before Ninja Kid.
So it wasn't just graphics they were modifying. Occasionally they'd have to swap out music. You'll see that in one of the later games we'll cover especially. But here, same game, only instead of a grinning asshole ninja, you're playing old Kitaro, him and his needle hair.
Needle hair and fingers and all those nasty things.
Eyeball dad, you know.
Yeah.
We've all been there. Eyeball dad, you're embarrassing me. In front of all the cool yokai. So yeah, kind of substandard in retrospect, but for 86 you weren't going to get much better.
No.
And I would assume back then that Bandai had some pretty limited resources, because first of all, they were limited to games they had on hand. They couldn't just contract out an American developer to make more. And these ROM hacks, I bet you could call them, is like very minimal effort. So if they had an American branch at the time, it was not big, not at all.
Alright, folks talking about how the new Gege no Kitaro has an episode making fun of Logan Paul. I heard about that.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Yeah, when this came out, there was a 80s anime adaptation that just come out, and so, yeah, it's having a little resurgence of popularity.
Well, here's our 5 minutes.
Alright.
You're supposed to keep me honest here.
Oh, instead of just, like, going off about anime?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't know what I expected. Alright, next
out.
up, their final game from 86 is the infamous Muscle.
This sucks. I'm out. I'm fucking out. This has been...
Now, unlike the other two games, I think Muscle actually was a localized version of Kiniko Man, right?
I think
somewhere
so, yeah.
Yeah, so it kept the license in this case, but it was just, Americanized. Here they called it Muscle, or Millions of Unusual Somethings.
Millions of unusual, super cuddly, lazy entertainers. I am not very good at this.
Here's my cuddly, lazy entertainer. He has 2 heads.
Oh, he's so cuddly.
Or rather, 2 faces on the same head. Don't you just want to hug him?
A little bit.
So out of any of the games we played so far, you probably know this one, just based on its appearances on so many different worst of games lists. People like to dump all over this game, and for good reason. It is not very good.
It's not.
Oh no, he got the power pellet! I'm screwed. That's how this game goes. You just wait for one guy to get the power pellet, and whoever gets that, they win. Oh, he got another one.
That just seems like a terrible way to do wrestling.
Yeah, well, WWE's been all downhill since Vince McMahon went all in on power pellets.
Yes, the crown jewel at Crown Jewel was a very large power pellet.
John Cena always gets the power pellet.
Every fucking time.
So predictable. Yeah, but even from back then, this was not great, because Nintendo also had its own pro wrestling game, and that was from a few people who later went on to form Human and made Fire Pro Wrestling. So it was actually decent. This is not decent. I don't think there's even any pins. You just kind of wail on the other guy until his life meter's gone, and then you win. That's how wrestling works, right? Oh, here we go. I got the pellet. Your ass is gonna pay. Your ass is grass, muscle man.
Yeah, Uzi. Vince was found innocent at the power pellet trial. There were rumors he was, trying to force the other wrestlers to, just chomp on them backstage like Candy, but,
Just handing them out. So, like, be like Pac-Man, your hero. Chew on them power pellets.
So are you implying that Pac-Man was, on steroids?
Well, yeah.
Alright, fair enough.
Oh, it's tag team?
Yeah.
Somehow I never realized that. Oh, look at that.
Oh, shit.
Well, that's something this game had that I didn't know. It does have wrestling moves. I'm grasping for straws here. What's your favorite part about this game, Alex?
My favorite part is the character sprites are kind of cutesy.
I guess so. Especially back then, they were kind of detailed. You could tell which characters they are. Oh! Did you see that?
Yeah.
Slammed his head through the canvas. And now he's blinking. Both the dudes are on power pellets. How can you say wrestling's fake? Can I at least win one match here? Let's see.
Sorry, I'm just imagining Hulk Hogan injecting a power pellet into his...
Oh no, he took one of the racist pellets. He sure loves those.
You know what? Unfortunately, a lot of people like them. It fucking sucks.
Well, so far this match is going okay, even if it's just kind of going nowhere at this point. Let's see if I can get one more power pellet and finish things off. So that was Bandai in '86. This is the best of what they had back then. Just leftovers that were previously out in Japan, crudely hacked to remove all anime licensed characters, except for this game. And yet still, I guess they must have made some kind of impact, because these games got a little bit of coverage. They had some notoriety. Bandai got their names out there early on in the NES's lifespan. That's what was important.
I'm sorry, I just love the win the game item.
Yeah, that's what it all comes down to. You just get that item. This match is going nowhere. I want my money back. This is the worst pay-per-view.
Trough of Luxury says, but what is WrestleMania other than a couple of guys jumping around a ring while we all wait for it to end? That is true.
And there you go. That's our personal recreation of WrestleMania 9. Doink loses.
Congrats.
So let's move on to '87 with a couple of games that we're not going to be able to play, but they're still pretty interesting. Here's the first one. It's a game called Athletic World. This was for the Family Fun Fitness mat, which was out for a good couple months before Nintendo said, hey, that mat, it's ours now. Take your shit off the market. We're licensing it and making it. And that's how the Power Pad came about.
Hey, this song kicks ass.
It kind of bumps, yeah. Yeah, here's a demo showing what the game would be like. Unfortunately, this emulator doesn't support Power Pad games, so we're just gonna have to let this speak for itself. I do want to show off Power Pad games at some point, because I know there are emulators that support it. And there's a good dozen or so Bandai games that use the Power Pad. My name
That's a lot of info!
Yeah.
Why do you want to know, man?
It's not letting me input anything.
Your name is nothing.
Select? Select enters things?
No age.
Okay, you can choose to be 0 years old.
Okay.
I was born on 000000.
It's gonna break the fucking game. Or not. Okay, never mind.
And this is where you step on the big old plastic mat and start stomping. You start running in place, and that makes the dude run and jump over hurdles. I'm sure your imagination is quite vivid. Mm-hmm. This game's really good. Oh, you're getting close to the finish line. You win! You set the world record!
I'm seeing it in my mind's eye. I have the trophy. The turtle is crying. It is just exquisite.
You've humbled that turtle.
That turtle is rethinking its life now.
Well, as we go to our next game, I'd also like to say I was completely wrong about something I said earlier. Mm-hmm. Earlier I said Chubby Cherub was the most expensive game we were going to cover tonight. And boy, is that ever wrong. Because their other release in '87 was fucking stadium events. Now, if you know anything about NES collecting, you know this is the one game everyone wants, and also the one game missing from every single collector's licensed NES collection. This game was only on market for a couple of weeks, according to rumors, before it was pulled, and Nintendo reissued it. Now, if this game looks familiar, that's because Nintendo put it out as World Class Track Meet. I think they also reissued Athletic World, but they didn't really pull those copies off the market, I don't think. But this one, oof, you're never gonna find this.
Alright, the bits from Trough of Luxury were for Tosei Micronic's Bandai Appreciation, because the sheer volume of games licensed they put out on the Famicom helped solidified it as a platform worth releasing in the US.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
Here's Turtle. Let's have a race. Turtle, I hate to tell you, but this ain't gonna be much of a race.
Turtle, you're gonna lose. We're all gonna lose, honestly.
This is the music that plays when it expects you to step on 2 of the buttons. I have no mat and no way to support that, so out it goes. Stadium events. If you happen to find a copy laying around at a Goodwill, might want to pick it up. I don't know, might be worth a shot, worth a toss, as they say in the UK.
I just like this song. Alex
is dancing. He's
grooving.
This
is great. We better move on, huh?
What do you say we move on to 88?
Ooh.
So, you're noticing something here, right? Years are going by, and they're only releasing a couple games. It's like they're barely testing the market. And they have good reason to, because there are a couple of games they released in 87 were like non-entities after Nintendo took over Power Pad licensing. So here's hoping 88 is a little bit better. They kick things off in March with Dragon Power. You know this game.
I sure fucking do.
But for anyone else who doesn't, see how quickly you can figure it out. Okay.
They figured it out!
Okay, Moku. Where should we go? I don't know,
Bullet.
Use this, Dragon Radar. Now you gotta find these crystal balls, you see. If you get all these crystal balls, Shenlong will grant you a wish. This is an original story made up for America.
Ah, yes. It's not based on any mythology, any anime, nothing.
Nope. You can see this character is quite happy. He has a tail. He's a little monkey boy.
Oh, it's a monkey!
Yeah, look at him. It's also a game where there's tons of hidden items and areas, and if you don't find them, you're pretty much screwed.
Scarf to Smith calls this Go-Go and Balmer. Oakenfork calls it Blamma and Gonko.
Gonko. Yeah, I guess you're on to me. This was a Dragon Ball game. In fact, it was the first Dragon Ball game for the Famicom. And at this point in, what was that, 88 I said? This game was a relic. This came out in 85 or 86 in Japan. And let me tell you, Famicom games, especially back in the early 80s, they tended to age very, very quickly. By 88, we were getting stuff like Mario 2. So imagine getting either this or Mario 2 for Christmas. Some kids, their parents picked wrong. Oh no.
Oh no.
Did she get caught? Go, Boku!
It's Count Dooku!
Get those crystal balls. 7 magic balls. You gotta find him, then you gotta wish for something.
Hey, listen, I have a rock version of this that goes, Crystal, crystal, rock the crystal.
Oh, you're
crystal balls.
You're elected. Sorry, timely political joke.
Yeah, here in Texas, the guy who did the Funimation music for, the Funimation, of course, 2005 on version of Dragon Ball won an elected office, so
good for him.
Yeah.
All on the strength of his theme.
Yeah, they all were like, oh, we love Rock the Dragon. He was like, I actually didn't do Rock the Dragon. I did another version. And they're like, oh no, Rock the Dragon. Yeah. And he's like, all right, Rock the Dragon, vote for me.
Dragon Ball to the polls. Wait, that doesn't work. Hey, it isn't a joke.
You're right. That guy being elected isn't a joke.
Have I played this game on stream before?
Yes, we have.
Okay. So I showed what happens if you make her wait.
Yeah.
Go look up that stream if you're interested. If you make her wait for too long, she pulls out a machine gun and shoots Boku. Boku and Bullet. Get that band of thieves.
And yeah, that guy, the guy who won was Nathan Johnson, and he beat an incumbent Republican.
Yeah,
so.
in Texas.
Because everyone loved his end.
All on the strength of his Dragon Ball song.
He won by 10 points. It was a victory. It was a victory. That's just how good Dragon Power is.
Alright, Boku, let it go. Yeah, so by this point, I guess they were putting in a little bit more effort on their quote-unquote localizations, because this is a localization. They did translate the text, they changed around a few things. It was more than just pasting a happy ninja face over q-taro's face. So I guess they had some kind of, budget and ability to translate games. Though at this point, they're still drawing from their existing Japanese catalog, which is not a great thing. I lost my wallet. Way back. I thought he was going to say I lost my wallet.
No, Chubby Cherub was a Obakyu game.
Mm-hmm. It also shows the lengths they were willing to go through to just leave no clue that these were Japanese-developed games.
Did you see the way he walked?
I'm out of here.
I do love Bulma's face there. Should that be new emote?
Maybe. It's pretty emotive. Yeah, also in this game you pick up sandwiches to run faster. There's also a sprite switch, because in the original it was panties. Also, the Turtle Hermit's been changed a little bit.
Just a little. Alright,
let's show the original game very quickly, since we're nearing the end of our time.
Okay.
Yep, this came out as Dragon Ball Shenlong no Nazo. And it has the actual theme here.
Dragon Balls. 7 magic balls.
When you gotta get them and make a wish for, something. I don't know how the song goes.
I don't know either.
And hey, look, it's Goku!
Shit!
It's not some stupid-looking monkey kid, it's Goku!
Hey, that monkey kid didn't look too stupid. Just a little bit.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. Well, next up, let's take things in a different direction, because after this game was released, Bandai they waited 6 months to release another pair of games, and those were their only other games for 88. Again, really light lineup, but in terms of quality, this was a pretty good one. It was Galaga. Threw you a curveball there, didn't I?
Yeah, that's an actual fucking game! That's not a...
Yeah, so essentially they took an existing Famicom port of Galaga, which came out in 83 or 84, I think, and all the way up in 88, 4 or 5 years later, they decided to release it in the States. Unmodified, except for the box art title, which added the subtitle Demons of Death.
That is the...
It makes this game sound way more extreme than it is.
I am losing my shit, Danny! Demons of Death?
Yep, Demons of Death.
Galaga Demons of Death?
That's what it says in the box. It's
Demons
all like,
of Death!
it's all serious.
Everybody! I'm losing my fucking shit, I'm sorry!
Ah, shit. I was gonna let that guy capture me. But I think this is a pretty interesting development, because we can think of this as among the first efforts to produce a kind of nostalgia-driven purchases among NES people. Because this game was old at this time. Arcade Galaga came out in 81. But I would assume there were still enough cabinets on location, and the game was still fresh in people's minds, so they decided to go ahead and localize this. Long, long after it was in arcades, and long after it hit the Famicom. I can only assume this was successful, though, because starting the next year, Bandai really started to ramp up their production of new games for the NES. And you'll see where that took them. It might have been entirely thanks to this game, and frankly I wouldn't doubt it, because Galaga is pretty good. People like Galaga. Do you like Galaga?
I like Galaga, but I like Demons of Death even more!
Alex is like drooling over the box art right now.
I am just... No, that is so good, Danny!
Demons of Death.
Demons of Death! I just...
There's not much I can say about Galaga otherwise. It's a classic. It gets reissued, like, every couple weeks, it seems like. It is just one of those games you can never escape. And you never want to escape, because it's good.
Everyone's making up their own subtitles. Zelos has got Pac-Man, Ghost of Gluttony, Grafted with Doom, Demons of Death, and of course, Smebble trying to curse us with Mouse Cop, True Crime.
Oh god. True Crime, Streets of Mouse Cop Land. So yeah, those other games that were mentioned were actually localized by other companies. Like, a whole bunch of people were picking up Namco's back catalog and bringing it to the States. I know Tengen picked up Famista and Pac-Man and localized those. And meanwhile, Bandai was all like, hey, we'll take the leftovers. And Galaga's some good leftovers, folks.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this is like something you find in the back of the fridge and you're like, oh my god, I hope it's still good, and it's like delicious.
And then you eat it and it makes you see through time. I've had that experience.
Okay, what did you eat?
I don't even remember, but it was good. Oh no, I like Galaga. This is fun.
We're at 3 minutes, so you've got 2 more minutes. Well, a minute and a half to keep playing the good game.
Okay. Yeah, I guess there is kind of value in putting actual good games in your publishing lineup for the NES. Make people think, hey, maybe there's something to this Bandai after all. And maybe if you didn't know your history, you'd think, Bandai made Galaga? Whoa, I love those guys. Maybe that's what they wanted you to think.
Maybe.
But whatever the case, I'd imagine this was successful.
And yeah, as BMF mentions, Namco didn't actually have an office in the US for a very long time, actually. It was like 1990 or so.
Yeah, they weren't an active NES publisher for a while. They just let everyone else pick up and publish their games. It wasn't until 91 or 92 that they actually released their own licensed Pac-Man for the NES. That was a Grey Cart reissue. That's a little bit rarer than the Tengen ones. They also released a weird Miss Pac-Man, which is odd, but it's unique. It's a thing they made.
We got 25 bits from Electric Boogaloo, who says this game is most definitely the catalyst for the 2005 Bandai Namco merger. Well, there's a lot more to it than that, but yeah.
That put them on good terms. That got them talking. They're all like, hey, you remember Galaga? And the other guy's like, Demons of Death?
Like, yeah.
Like, yeah, we should collaborate, man. Let's get a band together.
A demon band.
A demon band.
Kiss is the original Kiss, baby.
Well, that's the worst game of Galaga ever played, but it was under 5 minutes, so I'm going to consider that a victory.
It is.
So at the same time, they went and got another Namco game, and gave it a ridiculous subtitle too. This is Xevious the Avenger.
Oh, I love that! Oh man! Oh man! I am hooting, I am hollering, I am making all kinds of absurd noises.
So this is a little bit newer vintage than Galaga. This came out in '82, and man, this game was a thing in Japan. The arcade version was a sensation. If you're wondering why so many vertically scrolling shoot-'em-ups came out in the early '80s, it's because of this. It's all entirely due to Xevious. But the weird thing is that popularity, it didn't extend to the United States. I don't remember this game being a huge thing over here. It was more about Pac-Man, and maybe Galaga. We had Pac-Man fever. No one ever talked about the Xevious flu or whatever. Still, this port's okay, and they released it here, and I assume a few people bought it, because Xevious.
Let's see, chat's talking about, Bandai and Namco forming a podcast together at some point. I wish.
We gotta talk about the old days.
Levelist says we're getting the Bandai back together again, bless you.
Good. You ever play much Xevious?
Tepid Snake mentions that Xevious has overwhelming popularity. Yeah,
oh
this
yeah,
game was
it
hugely popular.
It is. It's impossible to state, because mainly we have no context for it. Whenever I've seen this game in arcades, it's always disused. It looks like it hasn't been played in years. And if you ever see a cabinet nowadays that hasn't been maintained, the title screen is likely burned in permanently to the CRT. That's the only way I've seen this game, with a burned-in CRT that says the Xevious title. Also, I suck at Xevious. Now, I should note, they released this and not the pseudo-sequel Super Xevious, which actually came out a few years later on the Famicom. That would have been something they could have released in '88, but I guess they just chose not to.
Oh, dang! Scarlet Swordfish saw a Xevious machine in the wild at a water park years ago.
Oh, cool.
I haven't seen a Xevious. I did, that one Nickel Arcade that I went to back in California did have a Xevious machine, but as you mentioned, it was deeply burned.
Yeah. The cabinet design's really cool, though. I like the bezel art. It's got that Atari style, because Atari localized it. It looks all futuristic. And then you look at the screen, and it's like, you can't even see the game. That's Xevious's legacy, as far as I'm concerned.
Everyone's talking about the complicated backstory of Xevious.
Oh yeah, all these old Namco games are linked, especially the space shooters. Like Xevious and Galaxian are part of the same universe. So is Galaga.
What? Wait, what?
Yeah, look it up sometime. You'll see.
I'll check it out in my local library.
Type this in. You ready?
Uh-huh.
WIKIPEDIA.org.
Okay. I'll do that right now.
Okay, do a search. Write it down.
Okay.
So that's 88, and that's 3 years of Bandai releases, and it feels like we just kind of blew through them. And that's going to change, because in 89 alone, they published more games than they released in the previous 3 years.
Sweet.
I guess Galaga and Xevious paid off. They realized, they got the sales to realize that, hey, this American market, maybe there's something to this. Maybe we should start releasing more games over there. And we should start in February of 89 with a little classic I like to call Bandai Golf Challenge Pebble Beach.
Yes! Absolute legend of a game.
You like golf, Alex?
I know it exists, and I know it is a game.
Let's do the back tee.
Okay.
We're nasty. So yeah, it's another 8-bit NES golf game. Whoop-de-freaking-do, right? Well, there's a few weird things about this one. First of all, this was made by Tosei, who made several other golf games for other developers, or rather publishers in Japan, including Bandai. But weirdly enough, this is not a localization of one of their existing games. This is new, and not just that, it's US exclusive.
What?
Not only did they take the time to make an entirely new golf game, even though they had so many already they could have localized, but this one they just told Tosei, hey, why not make another one?
Hey,
Just for the States.
That's a good shot, by the way.
Thank you. Let's see if I can get this.
Alright.
I did it! I got a
birdie!
birdie!
Oh my god, you got a birdie! Holy shit, you made my voice crack.
That's the best I've done at golf.
Exactly.
Maybe this is my game.
Okay, we got multiple folks going on the green, so...
On the green! Yeah, nothing special about this, except for the release status. Now, I don't know if at this point they would have specifically contracted Tosei to make a US-only golf game. My theory is, and this is completely unverified, this is all rumor material, my theory is they had so many golf games being published that they had a glut of them, and this one was going to go unreleased in Japan, so they decided to rescue it and release it in the States. That's my theory.
I think that tracks. I can see...
Whoa! Hey!
Hey,
Your ball is in. Parking lot. Maybe I'm not so good at this. But yeah, it just goes to show just how many damn golf games and baseball games were made for the NES. We were just overflowing with them, both in the States and Japan. And it was never enough, is the thing. They kept coming out. Why so many? Why?
I love the way it just flies.
But that's okay. You gotta start the year off hedging your bets.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone loves a golf game. You can't go wrong with that. So this was February 89, and in April of 89, they released what I consider the defining Bandai game for the NES in North America. And I think we're going to close out this half of the show with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Oh, fuck. Cool. Great.
Check this out. You ever seen this game?
Yes, and it's kind of dog shit if I recall. But I could also be recalling wrong.
Have you played it?
Have I? I don't think I have.
Ooh, okay, this is a rare opportunity.
Okay.
Folks, we're going to see someone play Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde for the first time live on stream.
Alright.
Oh my god, this is good. So there's an intro. See, this is Dr. Jekyll. Now, this is actually based on the 19th century Robert Louis Stevenson novel. Though actually it's more based on the 30s era movie because it has a subplot about him getting to the church so he can get married. That's not in the original book. That was just in the one of the first films.
Is this just...
Yep, that's the whole intro. Go ahead and get started.
Alright, let's do this.
Game's also interesting because it's part of a very short-lived subgenre of games for the NES that were based on 19th century novels. There was this, and there was also Tom Sawyer from Seta, and then Square Enix, or rather just Square, did their own Tom Sawyer game later on.
Hey, I can't jump for shit. I like this.
Mm-hmm. It's cool. Get used to the controls. Yep, you have a stick that you can use to poke things, but if
Hey,
you
stop!
but if you poke your fellow man, you get damaged.
That guy didn't like me jumping.
Yeah, that's the Mad Bomber.
Ah. Hey.
And it wasn't just in the States either, because in Japan there were a whole bunch of games based on the 19th century novel Satomi Hakenden.
Uh-oh.
So it was kind of a worldwide thing. Not super common, but there were a few games that attempted to adopt the classics. The books, you call them.
Well, I'm a fucker now.
Oh yeah. You're doing better than I thought you would. This game usually just vexes people right from the start, and now you're dead.
Actually, kind of. Well,
thanks once again to Alex for providing his everyman's perspective on
I'm
video
giving
games.
this right back to Danny.
That is a very accurate portrayal of what it's like to play this game for the first time. Yeah, you walk forward slowly, everything you try to hit instead damages you, and then you turn into this bizarre super freak who can shoot out fireballs and stuff for about 5 seconds until you die.
Bizarre super freak, huh?
Yeah, bizarre super freak.
What a way to word it.
Now, if you look at this game's box art, first of all, you'll see it's awesome. Second of all, it says, wield the power of Mr. Hyde's Psycho Wave. That's this game's main selling point. You get to turn into Mr. Hyde, and you wield a Psycho Wave against armies of demons. Just like in the book.
Okay.
Should also mention that in Japanese, psycho and psychic are pretty much synonyms. They don't really know or acknowledge a difference. So I think they meant to imply he had psychic powers.
Hey, did that child shoot you?
Yeah, he had a slingshot.
Oh, I thought it was like a gun. Like...
No, it's slingshot.
Oh, okay.
I also recommend checking out the manual because the character descriptions are hilarious. You get to find out why everyone in town fucking hates you, because everyone in town pushes past you, or they cause you damage, or lower your stress meter. More on that in a minute. But look through the manual, and the kid, you'll find out, is named Billy Pones.
Billy Pones?
Billy Pones, and he shoots you with his slingshot because he's jealous you're getting married to your fiancée. He wanted to marry her.
Alright. Sorry, kid. You should probably talk to your parents.
Or a counselor.
Someone, yeah. Yes, exactly. Everybody's spelling it PWNS. Thank you. That's exactly what I'd hope from y'all. Bless you.
What you see here is the basics of the game. As Dr. Jekyll, you suppress your evil urges, and you just go very slowly to the right. But in reality, there's a very, very cool game idea under this that is executed completely horribly. In reality, what you're doing is you're playing two different side-scrollers at the same time. You're going through this guy's world, the normal world, and when you turn into Mr. Hyde, he has his own unique levels, which are actually mirrored versions of these levels. And if you look closely, the buildings in those levels are all fucked up and destroyed looking. What you gotta do is balance your progress between the two characters. If Mr. Hyde gets ahead of Dr. Jekyll, lightning strikes him, which is what happened to you.
I don't want to be struck by fucking lightning.
Well, too bad. Look at this.
Look at him go! Just toddling along.
Nothing's gonna break his stride.
Nothing's gonna hold him down. It's just, gotta keep on moving.
Gotta keep on moving. And that's level 1. What do you think?
Everyone's like 5 minutes. Turn it off, please.
No. I got more to say about this game. Sucks to be you.
5 minutes have passed. 5 minutes. Let's finish this game.
So look at these birds. They shit out human turds. I'm positive the angry video game nerd has noted that before, but think of how terrifying that would be. Just birds laying out massive coiled human turds.
That fucking sucks.
Doesn't it? That would ruin the world as we knew it.
That is the worst thing you may have said on stream. Oh my god.
Hey, I gotta be real. And yeah, it's gotta be said that this game is most famous nowadays for launching the career of the angry video game nerd, and thus kind of defining the shape. It defined the shape that YouTube took in the years afterward, because after the Angry Nerds videos became popular, everyone else wanted to do that. So the whole YouTuber review format owes itself to the nerd and this game, giving it a kind of infamy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jekyll.
Dr. Jekyll. Aw, cat.
So
Does
here's
cat
the
hurt
kind
you?
of... Yes, the cat can go ballistic. Look, there.
Oh, it is! It's going ape shit!
I love.
Look at it go ape shit!
I love that 2-frame run that it does off the screen. It's such perfect cat behavior too, because I've seen cats do that. That's a total cat thing, where cats arch their back and start hopping around. But anyway, I want to talk about the game because no one ever does that. What happens is, as you encounter obstacles in town and they run into you, they can either decrease your health if they hurt you, or if they just irritate you, like if they just piss off Dr. Jekyll, they decrease his meter, which is actually a kind of, I guess you could call it a patience meter? Because when his patience is tested and it drains completely, he turns into Mr. Hyde. And that's when you gotta do these auto-scrolling brawler levels, I guess you could call them. And during these levels, you aim to restore your meter and turn back into Dr. Jekyll.
You're like trying to make your brain normal again.
Yeah, exactly.
I get it.
And
you
again,
might say this is his brand of self-care.
This is self-care. There's his psycho wave. Mm-hmm. The self-care wave, he calls it. And yeah, basically you gotta balance yourself between playing the actual semi-fun shooter sections and the no fun at all Dr. Jekyll sections. So you might think, I gotta get really good at the Dr. Jekyll parts, right? I never want to be Mr. Hyde. Well, that's the thing, because the only way to restore your health, which can drain during both sequences, is to complete a Mr. Hyde segment. So you need to do those.
Oh, that sucks.
And in fact, I looked at speedruns, and you kind of can't avoid turning into Mr. Hyde. Like, all the speedruns, they turn into Mr. Hyde at different points. Like, it's never planned, it's just something that's going to happen. It's just a part of the game you have to deal with. And I've said it before, but structurally, and as an idea, that is super great. That is a really cool idea for a game. Like, two different games you're playing at the same time. And it could not have been executed any worse than this. If you try to play it, it's even worse than what you see here. But just the fact that they tried, I gotta commend them.
I mean, it is something. I mean, those cats are good, too.
Mm-hmm. I guess Bandai wanted to be like, hey, let's capitalize on a 19th century novel.
That bomb made the cat go ape shit!
Yeah, that was great. And they said, you know what, let's try something different. Let's try something with a horror motif. Let's rip off Castlevania a little bit while we do it. Just a little bit. Don't make it so you have a weapon that works or anything.
Hey, honey, chat's being demons. So, you know this game? They are all contesting it as a mascot platformer that we have to play.
I've thought of this, and I'm gonna say no.
Okay, Danny says no, sorry.
That's because there's almost no platforming in this. The only time you jump upwards is to climb some stairs as Jekyll. And while there's platforming in the Hyde sequences, it's actually automatic. If he comes to a step that's a little bit too high for him, he'll automatically jump. You don't have to do it. It's a great game, right? Anyway, I spent a lot of time playing this the other night, so you're going to see some save states.
Oh, good.
So, let me show you the speed strat. The speed strat involves a level wrap, which looks like this.
Mm-hmm.
Which looks like this. There we go.
Oh!
You see him?
Yeah!
Now the cool thing about this is that if you stay all the way on the right side of the screen, almost nothing will touch you, because the way the game's balanced is it assumes that Dr. Jekyll is in the middle of the screen. So all the bombs explode in the middle, like stuff spawns in the middle of the screen all the time. So you can avoid the majority of stuff in this game if you do that. And
So
it's
now-
actually pretty easy to do.
Okay, so now it's just Mr. Jekyll's nice stroll. Oh, that cat wants you dead!
Oh, it sure does. That was close. Let's see what else I did last night. So here's some other levels. Oh, here's a glitch I captured where, like, one of the bombs went below the level and it wouldn't ever explode. Check that out. There's a lot of weird stuff you can get to happen in this game. Here's one of the obstacles from later on. It's an opera singer. Normally you have to collect coins from the Dark World and give them to her to make her stop singing, but later on in the game you can't stop her. She just does it no matter what.
The bomb is chasing you.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
What else did I make happen last night?
Probably a lot of good shit.
This was a real journey, let me tell you. Oh, here's one of the later sequences with, like, fire dudes and demons with big mouths. And these little brains with feet, I love them! See, there's cool things about this game, but none of it adds up to an actual cool game. Oh, here's another spot where you can do the thing.
Okay, do it.
Whoops. Well, okay. Now Dr. Jekyll occupies two halves of the screen. There's two of him. In addition to Mr. Hyde, so he's actually three people now.
I love Split Man.
Oh, he took damage on the left? Okay, you don't want to do that because that doubles your hitbox. You take damage on both sides of the screen.
Oh, BMF, I love you, but fuck you for that. He has a split personality, Danny.
Yes, he does.
That's good, though.
There's another spot where you can do that. There he goes. You see him?
Yeah, he's crawling.
Where is he?
What's he doing?
I don't know.
He's... Goodbye.
What if he goes all the way to the left? What? Uh-oh. That wasn't normal. Okay, there he is.
Okay.
Back to normal.
Just let that cat hit you.
I have a lot of these save states. Let's just see a couple more.
Okay.
I essentially just saved my state every time I saw something weird or fucked up. Speaking of weird and fucked up, the US version of this game. In Japan, this game is 6 levels, and they're all different. In the US, it's also 6 levels, but 2 of the levels they took out and replaced them with exact copies of existing levels. So you play 2 of the levels twice in the US version.
Any reason you could figure out why?
It's either due to them wanting to save cartridge space, like maybe they could take out some of the background tiles to make a smaller ROM, but it's also speculated because those 2 levels happen to have an additional gameplay mechanic, and that mechanic is prostitution. What you can do is, in those levels in the Japanese version, there's a lady in a window who, like, motions for you to come into her house. And when that happens, she takes away all your stress, she restores your health, and she gives you a whole bunch of coins. So that might be the reason they took that out of the US version. Which is a shame, because that's an additional mechanic in a game that frankly needs all the mechanics it can get. What the hell is this level like? Have I sold you on Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde?
I mean, are you a bad game salesman or something?
Maybe. What could I do to put you in this classic right here? This classic of late 80s game design.
This true classic of game. Ugh.
Alright, I'll briefly show off the last level before we go to intermission.
Alright, people calling him Dr. Escort, Dr. Gigolo.
And the final level, you face off against the final boss, Donkey
Barrels.
Kong.
Or Donkey Kong.
There's an unseen Donkey Kong at the end of the level. And not only that, but you gotta put up with these assholes who throw bombs. And it's almost impossible, because at the end of the level, as soon as a bomb guy exits the screen, another guy enters the screen, and you can only progress like a few pixels at a time. It's terrible. And this is what the Hyde levels look like at this point.
Well, that's pretty cool.
But, yeah, the weird part of this game is these levels, they feel like an actual game. You go around jumping and shooting things, collecting stuff, you know, video game things. But the majority of the game, you have to abstain from going to the dark side, so to speak. You gotta be this boring guy with a cane that doesn't work, and gameplay that is non-existent. The more you see of these brains with feet, the less humanity you have, in other words. It's a real conundrum. Anyway, let's skip to the end of the fucking game, because I did finish it last night. This is the final stretch.
You're like, take me to church.
Just one more opera singer. You gotta get to church all the way on the other side of town.
You're almost there, Danny. You're almost...
Almost gotta just reach the other
So
side of the
close.
screen. Need to jump.
This is nerve-wracking, Jesus.
Yeah.
Please.
So you might be tempted to dismiss this game as a big piece of shit, and it is. But There's so much of it that could have been cool. So much of it.
You're so close!
Did I make it? I think I made it. Barely. Oh no!
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 We didn't make it.
We didn't make it. Let's see if I can charge him back up. Take this guy to church.
I'm sorry. You got fucking generated.
In other words, it's a fascinating game that by no means would I ever recommend you play. It's just one of those things, you know? Luckily, there's been a lot of good discussion about this game in the years afterwards. I recommend looking up the article on Bad Game Hall of Fame if you want a good perspective on this game.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little bit different from the angry nerd side of things. We've heard of what he has to say. Now play this game for real.
Okay, Danny.
Okay, this is going to be... I think this is how I can get to the church. Because I think when the bomb glitches like that, it means there can't be any more bombs spawned. That's my theory, anyway.
I am rooting for you, Danny. We're all rooting for you. We all are supporting you.
Thank you. Oh no, here comes a cat! And a bomber! Fuck.
Well,
Alright, this is gonna be my last Hyde attempt, but...
Alright.
If you really must know, there are multiple endings to this game. Dear God, why? Because at the very last level, you can choose to have Hyde catch up and fight a final boss, which finally exercises your inner demons and lets you get the good ending.
So the final
That's not
boss
going to
is
happen right now.
I was gonna say the final boss is a therapist, then.
Yeah, you get the help you need.
Oh, thank God.
That Dr. Jekyll, he's a good guy, but I don't know about his friend. He kind of sucks. Also recommend checking out fellow Twitch streamer Macaw45, who just 2 days ago played all the way through this game. So if you want to see a full playthrough of that, do check it out. That's still in his past broadcasts, I believe. So yeah, this is Bandai, circa early 1989. So far they've made a bunch of games that are either just straight up ports or localizations of existing Famicom games. This was also a Famicom game, but this is way, way more interesting than the stuff they made earlier. It's bad, sure, but it just points to a company that is trying new stuff here in the States.
Yeah.
They're not really sure of what they want to be. They're experimenting, and that's often where the best games come from.